You can't use the excuse that it is super expensive to eat healthy and to do the right thing for your health. Is that kind of what you're saying a little bit? I have a question for you though. Are you living to eat? That's my
No,
question for you.
no, obviously not. Like
Okay.
for me, I'm living to serve, right?
Okay.
That's my purpose. And, since I had my bottoming out when my aunt got diabetes and they amputated her feet below her ankles, and my uncle died of heart disease, and my mother died of stomach cancer, and then my father died of heart disease, and my brother became diabetic, obese, has had 3 strokes and a heart attack. I really had to question everything about my existence. And that's what led me to eating a lot of plants. It led me to being whole food, raw vegan for 23 years. And that's why we started Organic Avenue, because 23 years ago, living in New York City, there wasn't accessibility to where I could go to a restaurant, or a store or a cafe, or even a juice bar, where I felt that everything on the menu was safe for me to eat. Like I always had to have my guard up. And that's not a fun feeling where you add this level of friction prior to consumption. So our vision for Organic Avenue was everything would be made with fresh, ripe, raw, organic fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, seaweeds, algae, and sprouts. And we had no added salt, oil, or sugar. Like everything was in its pure form. If we wanted something to be sweet, we would make our own date paste. So we were really using fruits and vegetables in their fashion to be consumed. And if you look at US dietary guidelines, they recommend 7 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables. And a serving is like a fistful, right? And the average American is consuming less than 1. So in our case, if we can get someone to have another serving of fruits and vegetables, whether it was a salad, an entree, a smoothie, a juice, a snack, that was all legit. What drove me to Sprouts was the fact that our average item at Organic Avenue was $10 each. And if you're, wanting to eat 1 or 2 items per meal per day, that could add up to a $60 or $70 or greater day. And Sprouts were something that I discovered a long time ago, 25 years ago. I had my first exposure to sprouts and sprouting, but I always thought of them as a garnish, as something, a side dish. And it was only the necessity of moving to Joshua Tree to when I realized that, oh, if I want to live my healthiest life, right? And I want to be able to consume within my framework of acceptable quality nutrition, then I would have to grow my own food. Like I wasn't going to be driving in the car to Rancho or to La Quinta or to LA to go buy my groceries. So that's when I discovered sprouting. And I decided, within the first month, basically almost all of my calories were coming from sprouts that I was growing in 6 jars in 1 cubic foot. And in hindsight, I look back, I was growing far more nutrients, far more calories, far more food than I could eat in a day with sprouts. And I was spending just a couple dollars a day.
So this is this is powerful stuff. I mean, obviously from a nutrition standpoint, but then you're talking about cost now. So now you're kind of building a story that says it doesn't cost a lot of money to be healthy. It doesn't, you can't use the excuse that it is super expensive to eat healthy and to do the right thing for your health. Is that kind of what you're saying a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying fundamentally is that it used to be a perception or a myth that to eat healthy was expensive. And the reality is, in the United States, there's 19,500 cities, right? There's only 500 Whole Foods in the entire country, right? They exist in 44, they exist in 350 cities, right? So 19,200 cities don't even have access to a Whole Foods, right? So the reality is people that are living in urban environments and rural environments and lower income environments just don't have access to high quality nutrition. And if they did, it was expensive. And so, 80 years ago, 40% of America during World War II had victory gardens, right? So they were growing their own food. Today, with an exponential increase in population and people living in smaller quarters, houses stacked up on top of each other, apartments geared next to each other, that less than 1% of America today grows their own food. And almost all food that's in the grocery store has been processed, refined, packaged, denatured, food engineering, added salt, added oil, added preservatives, added sugar. And so all of those things are leading into this health crisis of chronic illnesses, which 2 out of 3 Americans are either overweight or obese. Present company excluded, but this is a real dilemma. And what I came up with in my insight, which has been around since the beginning of time, I'm not discovering cold fusion. I just was revealed to me out of necessity that, hey, sprouts are food. Sprouts can be the center of the plate. Sprouts can be a meal. Sprouts can be a salad. Like, you can eat sprouts for food. And then the next insight was that sprouts contain every single vitamin, mineral, phytonutrient, polyphenol, bioflavonoid, antioxidant, amino acid that exists in the plant-based diet. So if they exist in the plant-based diet, they exist in sprouts. And in the sprout form, which is a young vegetable, tender vegetable, energetic vegetable, they can have up to 20 to 100 times the nutritional density of their mature counterparts, right? So that was really powerful. And then the third, go ahead, Daniel.
No. I was curious because, you're talking about all these facts. I mean, you wrote an entire book on this. I mean, this is because my question to you was like, how do you write a whole book on sprouts, right? I mean, and again, we're getting to that because you're explaining that there's so much that we don't know, that normal, regular people like me, we have no idea that this is a food, which I never knew that. This is why, Doug, I was so excited to have you on, because I love green. Okay. I love greens. I have green drinks almost every day. I'm constantly, trying to eat salads and trying to make sure that there's green everywhere, but of course, I mean, I live a regular urban lifestyle, and, I still eat fast food every once in a while. I still, eat things with sugar and different things, so, but the point I'm trying to make is you wrote a whole book on this. How do you write a whole book on this? You know what I mean? So anyways, but continue on.
Yeah. I mean, the third thing, and this is in the book, that sprouts are medicine, that there are unique compounds that are in sprouts that have medicinal properties that have been heavily researched and published. So broccoli sprouts alone have more than 2,000 published papers of the healing properties of broccoli sprouts for anti-cancer treatment, for treating autism, for detoxifying benzene from the lungs, from early Alzheimer's prevention, from regulating insulin levels for diabetics, for weight loss. So it turns out, like, when I first thought of sprouts, like, oh, there were garnishes, there's alfalfa sprouts and mung bean sprouts, and it was a novelty. When I started to go deep and I went down this rabbit hole of necessity, that's when I discovered that all seeds germinate and sprout. And that if you look at vegetables, alfalfa, azuki, arugula, radish, clover, broccoli, cauliflower, lentils, peas, fenugreek, all sorts of different varieties of lentils, peas, hemp, all of these seeds are available for consumption. Now, you have probably heard of and may even eat poppy seeds, sesame seeds, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds. Those have crossed over into mainstream diet and nutrition, right? And people are familiar with them, but typically they're roasting them, they're salting them, and they're a finished product. Turns out you can take broccoli seeds and you can eat them raw, you could roast them, but if you were to soak them and germinate them, they are becoming from a seed form into a vegetable form, and that vegetable becomes very bioavailable because the seed itself has enzyme inhibitors on it to protect seeds. They've discovered seeds 1,200 years old that will still sprout and germinate, right? So the seeds have nature's DNA encoding on them to protect them. So when I looked at all this, I was like, am I crazy? Like, I'm eating sprouts. Most of my calories are sprouts. So that's when I reached out to Dr. Oz, Dr. Furman, Dr. Hyman, Dr. Kahn, Dr. Axe. And it's interesting because some of these doctors eat anything, right? They eat anything in moderation. They recommend eating healthy whole foods. Some are recommending keto, right? Dr. Axe wrote the keto book. Mark Hyman wrote the functional medicine books, right? Dean Ornish wrote Reversing Heart Disease with Diet and Lifestyle. Joel Furman wrote about Eat to Live and his nutritarian diet of, eating plants, predominantly plant-based diet, and the energy. And Joel Kahn is a leading cardiologist, writes about plant-based. So they're all over the place, these doctors. But what they all had in common, every single one of them loved sprouts. And since I'm not a doctor, I figured I would recruit the intelligence of their genius, their expertise, their experience, and include it into the book as additional validation to what I already knew, both intuitively and research-wise.
Thank you for watching our short clips on Alonzo Academy. If you'd like to watch the next short clip, click here. If you'd like to watch the entire podcast, click here.